Hey people, so just watch a video. I saved it earlier because it caught my attention. I've just watched it. Um, the the user that uploaded it is a guy called TJ Sotomayor. I think I mentioned him before. Anyway, he's uploading the video, and this was a video of a gang of girls who attacked a girl in New York City, and it got a lot of attention because the girl's father stepped in and defended his daughter and attacked the girls. So this is a sort of moral conundrum. Um, well, it's a conundrum insofar as it produces debate, although I've got quite a clear-cut view on that, and so do a lot of people. Certainly looking at the video, the comment section, people were had a general consensus in that they were supporting the father. Uh, I'll try and put a link on this video, but basically the footage isn't very clear, but it clearly looks like this girl gang is attacking the girl. Father, being a concerned parent, has stepped in and he then attacked the girls. And he's not messing around. He hits them point blank, right? So um, I think the controversy stems from two things. And before you jump to conclusions, hear me out here. So the controversy stems from the fact he's male, hitting females, and the fact that he is an adult hitting people under the age of 18. Not exactly children, but not adults either. Um, I think, we really have to analyze each case on its own merit, and I think this is a clear-cut case to me, and clearly to a lot of other people there, that this was a father who cares for his daughter stepping in. That's how I see it. I think that people who make universal attitudes, for example, about male violence against females, need to really look at each individual case. Now, just to be clear, in no way do I support that. I think, as a general rule, I think it's most circumstances abhorrent, but I mean male violence against females. But you have to look at each individual case, and this is clearly a case of a father defending his daughter. Um, just a personal view about what I think of gangs, and generally people who work in a gang, a group, attack an individual. I think they're the lowest of the lowest low. I have hatred for people like that. Actually, I'll be candid about that. I have hatred for people who work in a gang to attack an individual. Um, Sometimes when we think about bullying, we think about individuals versus individuals, but much more often it is a gang or a group picking on an individual. Now, even if this was a random situation and not an ongoing example of bullying, the bottom line is it's still a group attacking an individual. So these girls are scum. I don't care if they're only 16 years old. 16 is old enough to know the difference between right and wrong. And unless you have a serious intelligence defect, then if you're in a group and you're attacking an individual, you know that's wrong. I suspect these girls simply don't care. So let's be clear about that. They're low life bully scum. That's what they are. This is not one on one. This isn't a fight. This was just a cowardly attack. I don't give a damn what the circumstances are. I don't care if they don't like her personality or whatever it is. There's no justifiable circumstances for a gang to attack an individual. None. So what his father saw was his daughter being attacked and he defended her. Now, here's a question. What sort of father would he be if he saw his daughter being attacked and he stood by and done nothing? Because the sensitivities, oh, I can't get involved because I'm an adult, I'm a man. I think people really need to consider that. I'm talking about this particular incident, but it is useful as a debate topic for general issues. Now the thing is, if it had been a boy gang, say a boy gang attacking the guy's daughter, or even a boy gang, male gang, attacking the guy's son, that would be pretty easy. Not easy, but I don't mean easy in terms of him dealing with it, but I mean easy in terms of no one will be raising any question marks whatsoever. If a male gang attacks someone's son, and the father or a big brother or a friend or whoever stepped in and helped the guy, everyone would say he's a hero. But apparently, this incident has provoked. Well, what happened was the father was arrested. You can overhear one of the girls in the video saying, "Oh, you're a grown-ass man attacking children." First of all, they're not children; they're 16. They're teenagers. It's old enough to know the difference between right and wrong. Secondly, the stupid girl who's saying that, you can overhear it in the video. I don't know if she's one of the gang members or not, but she's still stupid for not considering that this was a father clearly defending his daughter, and they were attacking him as well. So you could argue he was defending himself. I really hate when people sort of think, well, they just go on size or something and say, oh, well, he's a big guy, so he can't, he shouldn't be allowed to defend himself. That's bullshit. Everyone has a fundamental human right to defend themselves. Doesn't matter who you are. Um, and I've seen girl gangs. I haven't personally experienced them, but I've seen them. When I was studying in the West Midlands here in the UK, Wolverhampton to be precise, I remember seeing a girl gang in the city centre. I was in, I think it wasn't McDonald's, it was a coffee shop at the time. Basically, this girl gang barged away in. They were making a real nuisance of themselves. The staff eventually had to call the police. But anyone who thinks that girl gangs are harmless, or that just because they're girls they can't do any damage, is damn ignorant. I mean, the thing is, as a man, um, physically, most men could easily defend themselves against females, but it's the issue of stigma. Because any man that does, there will be people who jump on the bandwagon and say, "Oh, he hits girls." Now, look, just to be very clear about this, I don't condone that at all. I hate violence against women, but you have to make a caveat for situations of violent women. You have to. I hate women, girls who think that they can get away with it just because they are girls. Fuck them. They're really. I'm not talking here about women or girls defending themselves, from a violent partner or a rapist or something like that. That's a totally different issue. I'm talking about girl bullies who pick on other girls, especially other girls, also sometimes men as well. A few years ago, to cite another example, there was a girl gang in East London, Dagenham to be precise. I'd read about this, and they were picking on worshippers outside a synagogue. So when people were arriving at the synagogue, they were hurling abuse at them. Um, so you can find many examples of girl gangs behaving this way. Of course, there's no shortage of male gangs, but the thing is, people don't really. There's a desensitization to violence against men, and there's no question about it. Some men deserve to be beaten to a bloody pulp. I take the view, and I'm not promoting vigilantism here, but I take the view that gangs are the lowest of the low, and I believe that a gang that attacks an individual, I believe they deserve to be beaten to a pulp, actually, because I don't believe you can compromise with that sort of mentality. Um, I'm not saying this to be shocking or to be machismo or something like that. I just think that you can't really, liberal logic in those situations just looks weak and frankly a little bit naive. I spent 2 years in an inner city area, and I'm getting to a point with this. Um, I know the mentality of gangs, and by gangs, I'm not necessarily talking here about large scale, highly organized gangs, like the Bloods or the Crips or MS-13 or something. I'm talking about gangs in general. In the UK, even outside organized gangs, we have what we call yobs, just generally antisocial behavior, and very often they work in gang context, they work in numbers. to my international viewers, I'm not talking necessarily here about organized crime, but people who just basically terrorize society, and they make life very, very unpleasant for their neighbors. I do believe in absolute zero tolerance to these people, and I have a very I have very little patience for people who make excuses for them. There's no valid excuses really. Of course, you can look at the root causes and all that sort of thing. I appreciate that you need to look at that, but fundamentally, the idea that there should be any sympathy for people who terrorize society, um, I have very little patience for that. Because I've personally experienced the anger and the stress, and yes, I admit the fear that it causes. And it's made me a stronger person. It's given me a sort of resolve on right and wrong. And what we often lose sight of is when we think of bullies, we tend to think of bullies in a schoolyard, and certainly that happens. But bullies can also be criminals, people who work in gangs and terrorize society. So anyway, I'm going a bit off on a tangent on this one, but I have very, very strong views on this subject, and I would really have little patience with anyone who tries to make excuses. And to those who say because he's a grown man, he should do nothing, I would say, well, are you then saying, by insinuation, if you're saying he should do nothing because of the demographic of who he is, i.e., being male and being adult, and being a big guy, he's a well built guy, um, by insinuation, you're saying that he shouldn't defend his daughter. Now, that in itself, I think most people would say a parent who doesn't defend their child. The same would apply for a mother wanting to defend her daughter. Um, wouldn't be a good parent. I mean, it's the most natural thing in the world that a parent would want to defend their child. Now, speaking for myself, I'm not a father, but if I was, I would very much believe that I would be incredibly defensive. So would anyone. I think it's a very, very natural thing. I'd also be defensive of my girlfriend or wife. Um, that is not only the cultural, the social expectation of a man, but it's a man's expectation of a man. Most guys put that sort of expectation on themselves. I certainly do. I.e., if I'm ever faced with a sort of situation, would I defend someone? Yes, I would. And yes, I have. I was in a situation once, a group of guys sort of confronted me and some friends. Now, they demanded money. I'm not saying I went in there like Rambo and took on the whole group, but I did stand my ground because the two people that I was with were a bit more, I don't want to use the word vulnerable, but they didn't quite have the same experience I had had in terms of living in a tough neighborhood. And I don't want to sound like I grew up on the streets, but I did have experience of living in a tough area for a while. So I'd had experience of this, and I kind of stood my ground. Now, if I'd been on my own, it might have been a slightly different matter, but I was predominantly concerned for my friends at that time. In the end, it ended up just being guys attacked us, and we ended up in a police station, and it was a very stressful situation. But I just remember instinctively, I hadn't even thought about it. Instinctively, one of the gang kind of said to my friend, "Give me money, or you'll get knifed," or something like that. I was a bit reckless in the sense that I said he doesn't have to give you anything. Now, I don't know if the guy had a knife or not. In the UK, gangs do sometimes carry knives, so guess I was being a little bit reckless. But I kind of like I said it before I even thought about it. It wasn't a case of bravado because I genuinely wasn't thinking about it at the time. And similar things have happened since where I've instinctively defended someone I'm with. Luckily, this hasn't been, it's a very rare occurrence, but I'm just saying when it has happened, that has been my instinctive response. So what I'm saying is, if I was in the shoes of that father, I'd probably do something similar. Now, the footage shows him hitting the girls point blank, like punching her in the face. Um, I'd not necessarily do that. Not because I think it's immoral, I think she deserves it, but more simply because of the way society would judge that. I've no sympathy with this girl gang, to hell with them. the cards, the bullies, and the scum. And maybe, just maybe, they'll think twice about it in the future. But I really wish that people, when they judge these situations, would look at everything. And I think a lot of people comment on sort of male female confrontation situations without looking at the situation on its own merit. That's very, very important because you do need to ask the question. Another example would be, say you get a girl gang and a man finds that his girlfriend or wife is attacked by them, and she is a very passive sort of woman. Now, what sort of man in the world would not want to defend his girlfriend or wife? If it was guys, that's piss easy because you could just go in there and brutalize them, and most men would absolutely justifiably beat another man to a bloody pulp in order to defend his woman. But what if it's another woman? Then it becomes complicated because if a man dares to use any sort of aggression against a woman, then you get a lot of people, not just women, but a lot of other men are automatically judging that situation. Now, I don't want to be misinterpreted in this video. In no way am I trying to send out the message that, violence against women is in any way a good thing. It's not. All I'm saying is that you have to look at each case on its own merit. So making a blanket statement, for example, like violence against women is always wrong, is bullshit. It's bullshit because it doesn't look at every situation. It really doesn't. Um, anyway, I'll shut up now because I've spoken for a while. Yeah, I hate gangs, I hate bullies, and I just hope the police in this situation could look at the whole picture. Um, the footage is a little bit grainy, it's a little bit hard to make out, but I'm going in part by what the guy is explaining in the video. So watch the footage, let me know what you think. Cheers.